And I also feel very blessed to be in such a savas where Baba's love was so prevalent. And to know that I had to come right around the world to find him here also. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I'd like to tell you a little bit of my early time with Baba. And as you all know, from my earliest childhood, I was part of a Baba family because my parents were. In fact, Meheru told me the story of how when my mother was pregnant with me, Baba used to ask her, you want a boy or a girl? And she said, the girl definitely after 2 boys. And he says, all right, you'll get a girl. And she'll be cross-eyed and she'll look like this and she'll look like that. He would tease me. Well, my mother used to be allowed to see Baba. She used to come from Nagar and come and see Baba in Meherabad at the time, even in the Prem Ashram time when very few were allowed to come and see Baba. So she was allowed to come once a week, and on her last visit, when she returned home, I was born that day. So I was, from the very first, I'd been with Baba like that. But my earliest recollections of Baba were in Nasik. That he was always there. In our house, we would always see him there. And the women Mandli, Meheru and all of them, their place was just close by. And we as children used to run over to be with them because we loved being with them. And although Meheru didn't talk too much, she didn't have much to do with us. She was busy with her own things. The others would. I was somehow very drawn to her from the very first. When Baba used to, at that time, have a room in our place, my mother and grandmother would take care of the place. And I remember Baba there playing with us, joking with us. And there was never any hesitation on my part ever to approach him, because he was so approachable. In fact, I would hesitate to approach my father as often as I would Baba, because Baba was like one with the children like that. Although my father was a very lovable person too. But from the very first, my mother, from her own experience and what she told us was, we accepted Baba as God. Even though I didn't know what God was, Baba was God. And anything that you feared or felt unsafe about, Baba was there. Baba's nazar was on you, she would say. Nothing will happen to you. But I wasn't a person that got easily scared as a child, I suppose, but my brothers used to tease me a lot. And they would say, we slept on this 3-tier bed, and they would often tease me and say, when the thief comes in the night, he's going to attack you. They would both tease me. I said, then I want to sleep up. No, you're going to sleep down. They being older than me, they got their way. So then I would sometimes come to my mother and she says, don't worry, Baba's there. What's there to be frightened of? So I sort of accepted it, but they would do it all the time. So in the end I said, well, I better go and tell Baba all about it. So I did, and he listened very attentively, and he said, not to worry one bit, that he'll be watching over me. And after that, no matter how much they teased me, it never bothered me one bit. In the end, they gave up doing it. After a short time, we stayed there a while, but then we shifted to a house that was a little further away. And from there, my mother used to go every evening to go and visit. And we would go with her to go and visit the women's ashram. Meheru and Naja and Khurshid. And there was Baba's cousin Khurshid also. All of them. And it was something we always looked forward to. But then my mother put me in boarding school. And when we came for our holidays back, she was getting ready to go. I said, I'm coming with you. No, you can't come. Why can't I come? It's Baba's orders. Why did Baba give such orders? Well, Baba's given the orders, you have to obey them. I pleaded with her. It didn't work. So then my brothers were saying that they were going with her. I said, no, you can't come. It's Baba's orders. I told them. So from the first, I heard about Baba's orders, learning about Baba's orders. When I was 7 years old, my Naujut, that's like you'll have your Christians at the confirmation. Well, my Naujut was going to be performed by Baba. And I didn't know it. It was just about 8 days ahead. My grandmother told me. My mother wasn't at home even. She had gone to Meherabad. Baba had called her there. And I said, but I told my grandmother, I don't know the prayers. You better teach me the prayers. So I learned a little of the prayers. And when the time came for the Naujat, Baba came, my mother came 2 days before. And my brothers and my Naujat were done together, performed for Baba. And he was highly amused. I remember even a smile on his face. I mean, that I would sort of look at him, look at my brother saying something and try to pretend to say it too. But I knew how to. We had to put on the sadra and then the kasti that you wear around the cord that is woven from 56 fine strands of wool. It usually is done by our priest. His wife would usually do it. So that was one. So I knew how to do that. So, and then I said it was so long around me. Instead of wrapping it 4 times, it was about 6 times around me. So I told my mother about it. And she said, no, it's all right. Baba's put it on you. You just keep it on. So I said, but it's so long. What can I do about it? So then she kept telling me, Baba did. So I went to Baba. And I told him, this is so long. How can I put it on me? So he went. He says, all right, take it off. Then he tied a big loop, made it shorter. He says, now put it on. I said, all right. I put it on afterwards like that. And we were very mischievous as children. And we would play, the sitting room, make it topsy-turvy, the sofas would be topsy-turvy. You see, my father had this garage and my 2 brothers would say, we're going to drive this 6-cylinder car and do this. So I would do it too, and they would do somersaults, stand on their heads, and I would do too. So sometimes the whole sitting room would be topsy-turvy, the furniture upside down. So one time my mother came, and I think she was the end of her patience, and she was sort of at the point of tears when Baba came there. And I remember Baba helping her to put everything straight, doing it there. And one time I had this bad tummy ache. And Baba came and he says, what's wrong with you? And I said, I have this tummy ache. All right, tomorrow you take castor oil. And castor oil was something I hated to take. I think once in the holidays, my mother would give the children castor oil before we went back to school. So it would be a big thing, all of us protesting. And what we would say, no, give it to me last, give it to me last. Nobody wanted to take it. But we had to take it. So my sister saw Baba petting me and making so much of me. So she said she had a tummy ache too. So Baba petted her and said, all right, tomorrow you take castor oil also. So after a short time, she said, this is too much. She says, Baba, my tummy aches, all right, I don't think I need castor oil. But that next day, because Baba told me to take it, I took it very quietly. I didn't make any fuss about it because Baba had told me to do it. Somehow, it didn't seem so bad. But talking of Baba's orders, I remember as a child that the mandali would, the men mandali often came whenever Baba came to our house. And there was Padri, Pendu, Chanji, Kakabaria. I've grown up, known them from as childhood. So one day, Baba was playing cards with all of them. And I was standing at the back and watching. And my mother was there also. So Baba asked me, you see Pendu? You see his head? It's shining, he was losing hair from then. It was, bald head like that. So I said, yes. He says, what is it like? I said, it's like a shiny drum. So Baba said, go and play on his head. I looked at Baba, is he joking or not? How can I do such a thing? Baba said, play on it. I said, he really means it. I look at my mother, no reaction from my mother, no answer from her. I look at Baba and again, and he said, when I tell you to do it, you obey my orders. So I did. And nobody shouted at me, nobody told me not to do it. I liked the idea so much, so on my own I did it again. But that time Baba told me, you don't do that. Only if I tell you to do it, do you do it. And I just recently remember that incident and remember that in that action, how many points of obedience were there. I was obeying Baba, the Pendu was accepting it, and that my mother, no reaction from her, she was just letting Baba do what he wanted. And he was teaching me that even if you do something odd or wrong, when I tell you it's right, not on your own you do it. From very small, Baba would often ask me, and he would say, who do you love best in all the world? And I said, you, Baba. Really? He said, yes. How much? This much? I said, no, Baba. This much? He said, no, then how much? Baba said. So I put my hands wide to say, to my full capacity like that. And I knew he'd always be so happy when he heard that. And what will you do when you grow up? I said, I want to be one of your women mandali and do your work. And he always did in front of my mother. My mother was accepting that from small, that this is what my direction was. And Baba would always embrace me with so much love. So when the ashram shifted to Meherabad, there were many years in between that I didn't see them. I was never allowed to go up to Upper Meherabad to see them. In fact, one holiday when Baba needed my mother to be up in Meherabad when we were having our holidays, I stayed in Lower Meherabad, in the area which is now the health center that used to be the family quarters over there. My grandmother was staying there. So we were permitted to go to Lower Meherabad and play there, and I'm sure it'd be a big headache to all the mandali over there, the men mandali over there. And my mother would come down once every alternate day to come and bathe us, to see how we were, and then she would return. And we had the orders never to cross the railway lines, the railway tracks. I guess it was for our own safety also, because my brother used to fly kites and maybe the kite went. Baba said, you never to cross those railway tracks, which we never did. Now in Meherabad I knew all the Mandli staying there, Gustaji and all of them. Naja's father, Masaji, and Padre. In fact, I told Padre, I used to be scared of you as a child. I'm not anymore, but I used to be. I used to look at you so sternly like that. So I didn't know what a mast was or who, but I remember seeing Muhammad there. And he sat morosely in the corner, and maybe he had a cold or something, but his nose certainly needed cleaning. And I would go to him and tell him, clean your nose. Wipe your nose, I'll tell him. So Gustaji would come, or Sidhu, whoever was there taking care of him. No, don't bother him. Leave him alone. And I sort of looked shocked. Here's a grown-up man having a dirty nose and nobody telling him to clean it. But they would say, just leave him as he is. I mean, I didn't remember this till years later, that I'd forgotten all about it. Then I just remember Baba, they used to see Baba's coming from the gate in Upper Meherabad. The umbrella would come out. And in no time he would be coming down. He used to walk so beautifully, so swiftly. He used to come, ask after us also. And he used to play cricket a lot with the men Mandli also, in the evening. And one time when he was playing cricket when the Mandli came, when we were in Nasik, we children also went and joined in to do the fielding. And he hit a sixer well over everybody's head, and I was far away. So my brother in front of me missed it. I said, well, he's missed it, I'm going to catch it. And as I was putting my hand out to catch it, the ball slipped through my hand and landed straight on my nose. And it was bleeding like anything. The game came to a halt. Baba immediately came, and he was trying to sort of coax me, but I was disturbed at him. Why did his ball have to come and do that to me, So later on, when every now and then he would ask, how are you? Is it all right? I mean, that concern, that love, I still remember that Baba would give to each one. And in 1936-37, when the Westerners came, we were living in this small bungalow, and they were living in the compound there. And we were given the orders never to enter their quarters or disturb them in any way. Just talk with them when they were outside. So we got to know all of them. Kitty, Elizabeth, Norina, Rano, and all of them. And they were and at that time Baba told my mother that we should become day scholars, and she should drive us each day to school. Saturday and Sunday were holidays, so we would be at home. So that time Baba had given them 1 hour meditation. I didn't know what meditation was, but all I knew was that my mother tried to keep us quiet for a whole hour. So she would do it very tactfully. She tried to keep us occupied in something, and after that she started giving us watermelon to eat and sugar cane to eat, so that we just keep quiet and keep. And that was the time when Baba's birthday was celebrated in 1937 in Nasik. You see the movie of it. Well, it's a very beautiful movie, but in that movie, they had these professional photographers team come to photograph it. And with them was this trained monkey. It was a chimpanzee that they brought with them. And he had on a coat and pants, and he loved smoking cigarettes. And he loved everybody. He would hold on to the person and want to be with them. I remember the child being so happy that he held on to me for so long. But the thing is that the movie that wasn't taken was, when everybody came to embrace Baba, when his lovers were out, the film people also asked if they could come. And the monkey also came and he embraced Baba and didn't want to leave Baba. Yes. They never showed that part. So when I was a little older, like 10 years old, we had gone to Nagar for our holidays. My mother had come with us. And she used to go every now and then to Meherabad, I think every alternate day, to visit Baba. And then one day she told my sister and myself that you are coming. Baba's told you to come too. So as we were approaching up the hill, she said, now remember, you're not to mention any man's name when you go up. I said, what? Not even my father's name? No. I said, then get me out of the car. I might make a mistake. Well, she just pretended she didn't hear. And we went up. And that was the first time I ever remember being up there and coming into the room, which you'll now know as the East Room. Baba was there, looking very beautiful. And I met all the women Mandali again. And all that memory of my wanting to be with them was very strong and me reawakened again. Baba asked, do I remember them all? He asked, who is this and who is this and who is this? I said, yes, I know them all. And a second time, Baba said we could come. And then he said that we should come for his birthday in February, which was going to be celebrated in Meherabad there. That my mother was to come a few days earlier, and then about the next weekend, that time Katie was staying with us in Nashik. That Katie, my sister and I, and my father would bring us over. So when my mother was going, it was too much for me. I couldn't stand it. I said, no, you're going to take me with you. No, said she. Baba said to come. I said, no, you're going to take. And I cried and I put up such a show, demanding it, and even running after the car, weeping as she was going. But she never listened to me. I was so disappointed, so hurt. And then we were supposed to go on Friday, but my father hadn't come from Bombay. So I told Katie, why don't you take us to the school again on Friday? We'll come back. And then if he comes today, then we can go on Saturday. So Katie took us to school, and when she was coming back to bring us home, the car had a puncture, and she lost control of it. There was a motor accident. She was hurt. I was hurt. My sister was unhurt, but but she cried the most because she had some blood on her, but she actually wasn't hurt. But it didn't make matters any better when she told Katie, you've got a hole in your head. And poor Katie was so scared with the whole incident, not so much what we would say, but what her own mother would tell her, smashing the car and getting us ill. So she holds the first passerby that was going, and he was very nice, and he takes us to the hospital. But he himself was so scared because he was a learner also. He had just, got his license and things. So when we went to Meherabad, we were like wounded soldiers going. My arm was wrapped up. Katie had this wound here, and we came there. And then my mother said, Baba said I should have brought you with me. I said, I told you to, why didn't you? It was very beautiful there. And after that period, Baba allowed me to come for my holidays to be with him. And then later I became a boarder. And I remember that my mother hadn't, after her last child, she was much changed. She was much affected. She was never the same after that. And It was a very sorrowful time for me, but because of Baba and Baba's love and the way he would call us to be with him in the holidays, he didn't allow it. He made it as little painful as possible. And one time while I was in school and I was sort of thinking about my mother and feeling very sad. Actually, I was in the hospital at the time because I had some skin infection. And I remember having a very bad day and very sort of depressed that time. And 2 days later, my uncle Adi came to see me. And it was in the night, which they don't usually allow, but he must have insisted. So he was allowed to come and see me. And he kept saying, Baba told me to come and see you. And he mentioned, that time it didn't mean anything, but it must have been that very day that I was so sad and feeling so bad that the next day Baba told Adi to come and see me. And he was in a different place from the schools. It took him that much, 2 days to come. At that time I was saying, 2 days ago I was feeling very sad. He's come now. But I realized only later that it must have been almost that time that Baba told him, you go there. And he said, I've come specially to see you, Baba sent me. It made you realize that when Baba says he's keeping his nazar on you, he's truly doing so. And I want to read you a little something that I'd like to share with all of you. Which is called, I'd like to end it in this way, that when I passed school and Baba asked me, now what do you want to do? I'd come for the holidays. I said, Baba, I'm not going to school anymore, I'm going to come and be with you. He said, really? I said, yes. So I was fortunate that Baba allowed me to come and do so. This is thankfulness for Baba's gifts. Baba's gifts are countless. Every morning on awaking, I bow down, palms together, nod my head to each and every photo of Baba in my room, and Meher's photos too. That does not prevent me from adding another and another if they are ones I like, for they keep alive the ever-present memory of these dear ones. In a way, I am thanking them for my being with them. In Baba's and Meher's rooms too, I bow down to the photos in their rooms and at the foot of their beds. There is a particular picture in Meher's room at the head of her bed of Baba standing smiling enigmatically. It is of our early days with Baba in Meherazad. My sister had wanted to take a photo of Baba, and we were standing in the garden waiting for Baba to arrive. Naturally seeing us, he asked what we were doing there, and I mentioned the photo. Immediately, Baba flung down his umbrella, and Nagu took the photo. I thanked Baba that he let her. I thank Baba that I was there, and this photo is a wonderful reminder of those happy days. Meher, on awakening, would always bow to Baba's image on the tree outside her window, and then to all Baba's photos in her room. She would come to this photo of Baba's and bow down at his feet with her forehead, then raise her head to kiss his feet. Often I have seen her do so. That motion expressed her yearning to reach upward, ever upward, to be with him. All these thoughts come to me as gifts from Baba, gifts of his love, that I had been witness to Meher's love for him. In the dining room, I bow down at Baba's chair and see Baba there, and I also see Meher. Never did she sit down to a meal without first bowing to Baba's photo behind his chair, and then she would draw his chair away from the table, as she used to do, for Baba to be seated. And after bringing the chair in place, we'd say Jai Baba with joined hands. I never wanted to miss seeing her doing this before her meal. She was inviting Baba to join her at the table, and we would stand up and say Jai Baba with her, feeling, almost seeing, Baba standing there and then seating himself at his table. After breakfast, I go around Baba Meher's garden to collect flowers for his house. This we did not do when Baba was with us physically. Where was the need, when his presence and beauty shone everywhere? And where was the time? It was all directed towards him. But later Meheru wanted it, so somehow I got involved. As I pass by, I bow to her bed, where Baba's photo is, and Meheru's photo. Then I bow to Seclusion Hill, and then as I pass, to Baba's gift to Meheru, his image on the tree outside her window. Then I bow to her window as if to her. And then I bow Jai Baba to Baba's window, his TV window, and then to his TV view, thanking him for his beautiful gift of Meherazad and for allowing his Meheru to be with us all those years. Then I bow to all the wells whose water supply has kept Meherazad going, in thankfulness for his wondrous gift that helped us stay in his home in Meherazad and enabled us to care for Baba Meher's garden in spite of the drought conditions Nagar is so prone to. Truly his gifts are limitless. Just in the first 2 hours of the gift of each day that he gives us, I cannot enumerate how much he has given and still gives. He gives to each and all, and we must keep our hearts open to these gifts. He will not clap his hands and point them out. We have to keep our hearts open to receive them as his love shines on each and all. In Meherazad we cannot mourn, or should not, the passing of our beloved Baba and Meheru. That would be selfishness on our parts. Their home is so filled with memories of their beautiful presence. For this we are ever joyful and grateful. There is a small cabinet in the hallway outside the dining room door. Everyone in the way of work passes by it umpteen times a day. One cannot help but see, as it is meant to be, the photo on it of beloved Baba's hand. Meheru would often in passing touch this photo and afterwards touch a hand to her lips or her heart. I have seen her stand before it, gazing in rapt contemplation, sometimes silent tears rolling down her cheeks, hesitating to disturb her, yet feeling she needed to be consoled. I or one of us would stop by, but we would realize those tears she was shedding were of deep thankfulness. She was remembering how much Baba had silently given through the touch of his hands, all the countless gifts to us and all the world, especially to Meheru herself. Thousands upon thousands during darshan had received prasad from Baba's hands. Often he would give it with both hands throughout the day for hours on end. Not just the automatic action of giving, but the real prasad of his love reaching them through his unforgettable touch. And each one would feel they had had their own special moment of darshan. Those slim, shapely hands had worked hard in manual labor and washing the feet of the poor, bathing the musts and the lepers. All this Meheru would recount, and these were just the outward signs of the real gift he gave. How could we gauge the inner benefit of such grace? Grace flows eternally for one and all from him, who is all merciful and eternally benevolent. Be receptive to him. When you look around you, the place where you live, you will realize how close Baba's contact is with you also, not only in your individual lives, but through the invaluable legacy of his photos and movies. And you have had contact with many of his followers, the Mandli who lived with him, and those who had loved and followed him when he was physically in our midst. Do not dwell on the fact that most of them are no longer with us, but on the countless gifts that Baba had given you through them. What would Australia have been without Francis, or Myrtle Beach without Elizabeth and Kitty, or England without their Delia? Do not dwell on what is no longer there, but on what you have already been given. Otherwise, we would be belittling his gifts. Use each opportunity you get when faced with difficulty or adversity as the biggest gift he offers you. In our complete acceptance and surrender to his will is our opportunity to give, in some measure, to one who has everything. It is the chance for the individual drop to give to the limitless ocean. Hey, Baba. And often Meheru would say that when Baba gives, he gives with both hands. That we have to be receptive. We have to be big enough to receive it. Baba himself said, he was the ocean. It is with whatever you come with and you fill your vessel, that's what you take with you. So make it so big that you can take as much as you can give. Jai Baba.